Lanolin.
Lanolin. Is that sheep's wool? Like sheep's wool?
Sheep's wool?
Like, all right, everybody. Oh, we're recording. Okay, well, let's hop into it then. Welcome, everyone, to the Armchair Bookers Podcast. I am your host, The Ref. You probably remember me from so many different iterations of the Armchair Bookers Podcast, but now I'm going to introduce you to the newest Armchair Booker, my co-host with the most, Noah. Hit me up. What's going on with you?
Hey, how's it doing, everybody? Josh, a pleasure to be here.
It's our pleasure to have you, brother. Welcome to the family.
Thank you.
So we're going to get into a few things, all right? Now, with our first episode, though, all right, it does come at a time where the wrestling world did lose a wrestling icon in Hulk Hogan. So I want to see where that conversation goes. It's going to have some avenues, but you know what? There's so much to talk about. I think it's time to hop on in. We lost Hulk Hogan, and it's, we're conflicted, right? As wrestling enthusiasts, as a 42-year-old man who has followed wrestling since Hulkamania. I remember hulking up and running up and down the steps when he slammed Andre. WrestleMania 3, it is iconic to so many people, not just wrestling enthusiasts, right? The general public knows this situation. They know this scene. They've seen it, right? Mm-hmm. As somebody that hasn't seen wrestling, again, our conversations have always been filling in the gaps of knowledge, right? Giving you some information from the ref, who is very, again, neutral. That's why I'm the ref. My opinions always down the line.
Except if you ask them about super kicks. I learned that one the hard way.
That kicking out of finishes is a whole different episode, so make sure you tune in. And by the way, speaking of tuning in, as we're getting off the ground, make sure you're watching us on Facebook. You are already watching us on Facebook, so in that case, repost, share, like, tell your friends. Thank you in advance for that. Okay, so getting back into it again a bit here. Hulk Hogan. Can you tell me, as a lay fella in the wrestling world, your feelings with the more knowledge that we have in this world now, right, with the internet and video and the blah 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 blah. We know maybe too much, never meet your heroes kind of thing. Well, Terry Bollea, I want to separate. Please hear me tell you. Listen. Terry Bollea is going to be a conversation. We're going to lead with that. I do think that that's paramount in terms of, humanity, right? Like, we have to address Terry Bollea first. Hulk Hogan is going to be a separate conversation, so bear with my praise there. I'm going to say right now, him as a wrestler, what he did for me as a wrestling fan, there'll be a lot of praise there. Terry Bollea, you're not going to get that from me.
If I may.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just as a heads up, I am not as well-versed in wrestling as my dear friend Josh here. I am very much a layman. I do have because I ask a lot of questions because it's interesting. Two things I love. I come from a theater background, amongst other things, but two things I love are stage combat, which wrestling is. It's some of the finest stage combat you'll ever see. And there are very few things in this world as hard as making it look like you're beating the snot out of somebody without actually beating the snot out of them.
Yeah, so like getting a super kick and then selling it like nothing happened.
See, a nerve has been struck, as you can see. The second thing is, I love a good story. And good stage combat tells a story, along with promos and whatnot. Now, why do I bring all this up? Because when you're dealing with many forms of entertainment, especially ones that I'm familiar with, there is the conversation that everyone has about separating the art from the artist.
Yeah.
Now, what we are going to do, to my understanding, is that we're going to take objective looks at both of them. And just because something is positive or negative does not mean that it's not objective.
Yeah.
So when we talk about,
I think that's fair.
Yeah, if we talk about Terry Bollea, pros and cons, Hulk Hogan, pros and cons, and you might see one of one column more than the other, but that's just life, is my understanding. So, without further gilding the lily, take it away.
Yeah, so If you're watching us, listening to us, you already know why I would say I'm not. I find him to be a I found him to be a very bad human being. You don't say racist comments. You don't. You know. You just you can't. You can't. It's a no-go zone. There's no coming back from it in my eyes. Without getting political, some of his views are stripped to a way that I cannot get in line with.
At a certain point, when we as adults, we got to be held accountable for our choices and our actions. Whether you're super world renowned, famous, or you're just some guy waiting in line at Dunkin' Donuts, we're
Absolutely.
all to be held accountable. And based on what a lot of us have seen of his behavior and his choices, we're holding him accountable.
It's got to be fair, and to go back on it and touch on one other thing, because this is not about speaking ill of the dead. This is about separating somebody that was so important to me in my life from the person that he showed himself to be. Just because I idolized you as a wrestler, it does not forgive the things you did. And this is not me insulting the dead. This is me talking about who he was while he was with us. Okay. The other thing I really struggle with Hulk, excuse me, with Terry, right? With Terry,
The catch.
it's just he showed us too much. Hogan knows best. Hogan did not know best. Plain and simple. It's just unfortunate that we got to meet our hero, right? He's survived by family who hopefully are able to accept go through their process, right? There's going to be positive, negatives. It is what he created in that sense, right? He left the earth as a polarizing figure. His last appearance in WWE, the company that Hulk built.
Is that a Hulk or is that a Terry moment?
That's the unfortunate combination of two people that
Fair.
The general public saw in that moment. It was not about thinking. It's not about memory, right? It's about present because he was there. Yeah. It's easy to look back now and say all the good things that we've watched, right? Even some things that we've read. I have to say a few positives. There are a lot of people that came out and spoke very highly of the things that they did for him. People of color. Kamala came out and said he was just very, very beneficial in terms of support. We've heard interviews from other folks, not just of color, just in general, who have spoken positive. It does not forgive what he said, okay? Take them for what they're saying and their experience. Of course, I don't want to take away somebody's experience or say that they're wrong. So, fans, allow us to kind of just step over a little bit and talk about Hulk Hogan. WrestleMania 3, the Slam. Everybody goes back to that. But for me, it was literally in a time for my life, not to get all into my deep history, a time for my life, it was somebody to look up to. He said all the right things. He looked amazing, right? He was everywhere. So, long story short, to go back to it yet again, it was just a very important time for me coming up, and it made me fall in love with wrestling. Like I said, I'm a 43-year-old man born. That's a long time loving wrestling. And he was the hook, line, and sinker for me, plain and simple. Not just because of the slam. I was running up and down the steps, hulking out, hoping that he was going to hit that slam. So it went, before that, all the way through to his match against The Rock. It started to kind of falter after, of course, all the stories of that doesn't work for me, brother, started to come out. But here I go again, going more towards the negative of his career. And I'm going to pull back to the positive. Yes, sir.
All right. So we know Hulkamania was everywhere. This has been well established. Like top even those, what did you say?
Top to bottom, everywhere.
Absolutely. I mean, Suburban Commando is a cinematic masterpiece.
No wonder you guys never talk.
But so he was larger than life, and he brought what was that movement that WWF? That's F at the time. WWF did with Cyndi Lauper and a few others. It was the
Rock and Wrestling. Wrestling. I mean, they had a Saturday morning cartoon, and Saturday morning cartoons for all you young folks was a big deal. They had some of the best cartoons, and that was a very, very big one. He was pop culture, Plain and simple. You didn't have to like wrestling. You knew who Hulk Hogan was. He was in Rocky 3. Thunder Lips. I mean, come on.
Lips, yeah.
Right? His contributions were so huge. We're going to get right quick into his heel turn and how he was able to be as big as he was as a face. He really ended up being as big of a heel. That was short-lived. I think people forget how quick the NWO came in and out, but that little bit of time was so iconic again. So script flipping, that you have to shine the praise on again what he was able to evolve in wrestling, what he was able to push, right? His backroom antics notwithstanding, we got so much entertainment from Hulk Hogan. All right.
We can say thank you, Hulk, without
rest
saying
in peace, Hulk Hogan. Rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. Thank you for making me fall in love with wrestling. Thank you for. I'll watch your highlights and things like that. I'll look at you in a different light. I will. That's unfortunate, but I became a wrestler. I became a fan and an enthusiast